everyone, I'm Ashley McManus, Director of Marketing at Affectiva. Welcome to Affectiva Asks, a human-centric AI podcast where each episode we will interview a thought leader doing cutting-edge work in the AI space. A little bit about us. Affectiva is the pioneer of in-cabin sensing AI, software that can detect nuanced human emotions, complex cognitive states, behaviors, activities, and interactions within next-generation vehicles. Today's episode features Stefan Hamerich, Director of Product Management at Cerence. Cerence is the global industry leader in creating unique, moving experiences for the automotive world. As an innovation partner to the world's leading automakers, it is helping transform how a car feels, responds, and learns. Its track record is built on more than 20 years of knowledge and more than 350 million cars shipped with Cerence technology. Stefan's team is responsible for the strategy and roadmap of all embedded speech input and text products of Cerence, as well as their embedded platform. Today, he shares with us some of his thoughts and ideas around designing in-vehicle systems with the human in mind. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. With me, I have Stefan Hamerich, Director of Product Management at Cerence. So, Stefan, thank you so much for making the time to speak with me today.
Well, I'm fine. Happy to be here.
Great. So, to start, tell us about your background. How has your career path taken you to Cerence?
It started all seriously at university when I really fell in love with communicating with machines. So really, back then it was mostly typing and then they answered and furthermore speaking. That was really great. So then I went to IBM, which back then was big in that. And then professional career started at Temic in Ulm in southern Germany. They were the pioneers in automotive speech systems. And then there were various acquisitions, and so I landed at Nuance, and then there was the spin-off to Cerence. And I'm still happy here, still find it extremely cool to talk to a device or even the car and get it ready to follow what I do. So from that point, that's perfectly fine. And in all those years, it's really getting somehow the human touch to the devices to make them more human. And started, of course, as a developer, so really technical coding, and then via project management from TTS and others now into product management, which is a nice thing.
Yeah, definitely. That certainly resonates with us. Can you speak a little bit more about your role at Cerence today?
Sure. So I have a team of product managers here, and originally I started with TTS only, and now we have all the core technologies and also the embedded platform. The core tech means here, of course, the classical speech technologies, so the speech enhancement, so echo cancellation, noise reduction, barge-in, all that. Also the speech recognition, natural language understanding, the synthesis, TTS, and also multimodal input, for example, handwriting, which also is a nice technology we are having. And also some more newer products which we launched in more recent years, like in-car communication, where you basically can easily communicate in a larger van, or also emergency vehicle detection. And then the embedded platforms, that's all the integration of how that audio fits in there and can nicely be integrated.
Great. So for those who are unfamiliar with Cerence, I know you mentioned it actually did spin out of Nuance and its applications with vehicles. Can you briefly explain what your offerings are at Cerence?
Yes, I can try. So basically, that's the point. We are, I would say, white labeling our products, so therefore end consumers will probably never notice us. But we're actually shipping in 350 million cars already, so that's a nice customer base. Awesome. It's AI-powered assistance, and speech is a large part of that, but not only speech. There's also more. I guess most famous of our solutions which we are shipping is probably, for example, the MBUX system of Mercedes. We're very proud also of the S-Class there, for example, which is relatively new. The Ford Sync is known, FCA, Uconnect, BMW Intelligent Personal Assistant, Audi with the multimedia infotainment. So there's a lot of those systems which we are all equipping. And it's really to build an intuitive, powerful interaction between the humans and the cars. And, cars mostly, but it can be also others, of course, motorcycles, elevators, what have you. There's a lot of things which can be done. And then it's, of course, all the technology around. And in the end, it's really getting people more into human communication and interaction with those devices and having a more fun and of course also an increased safety. I mean, that is of course the key point where it all started and which still stays relevant for us.
Definitely. So you recently conducted a research project with a major European automaker, which we cannot name, but can you discuss broadly what that project entailed?
Sure, happy to do so. So this is basically for new generation of cars. So nothing of that car is yet on the road. So therefore, there's, of course, not too many details, but I can for sure give the generic view. I mean, the key point is speech technology itself is around for quite some time. And though, as I said earlier, it's still great and still loving that field, but we are used to that. And there is more to the human interaction, of course. And that is exactly what is also, of course, a very good point to connect here with you at Affectiva, because we want to also become more human and understand also more the humanity of the interaction. And there clearly, of course, emotions and the mood, that is something which is important. And very specifically, it's about to understand either happiness or frustration. So if you are in your vehicle, for example, on the way to a meeting, and it's out of a sudden you get to know you will not be able to make it on time, then of course frustration will raise.
Yeah.
And if the car can know about that frustration and can sense that somehow, then of course it can also support the driver to at least stay a bit more calm, so that not when you are actually there, you are completely out of your mind and cannot even actually really think and do a good meeting there. So therefore, this can be prepared. That is one thing. So really understanding what is the emotional stage, leveraging that, and then have a more personalized human-like interaction. And another small thing, which probably is nice to mention, is also jokes. I mean, a lot of systems, assistants do like to tell jokes, or at least you can ask them, please tell me a joke. And humor is, of course, different depending on the person. So some like very subtle humor, other prefer some more different kind of humor. So therefore, that is also something. If you tell such a joke and you can sense how is the actual driver or the person, I mean, it could even be a self-driving vehicle, of course. So the passenger in the vehicle, how do they react to that kind of a joke? Then, of course, this also can help you going forward to provide them more jokes in the direction the respective passenger likes.
It's so interesting. So Affectiva is also working in the automotive space to provide in-cabin sensing solutions to car companies and optimizing what the in-cabin environment looks and feels like. We've worked with Cerence closely for a while now, and I was hoping you could speak a bit more on what that partnership looks like. So maybe to start, how are you building emotion recognition into your systems?
So emotion indeed is about to appear as a new modality. So there is speech, there's gaze, gesture, all those things, and there is also emotion. And that is really part of that communication between the driver and the car. And as I said earlier, the human-to-human communication already, as we all know, this is not just speaking. There is much, much more. It's, of course, gestures, eye movements, emotions, and that can be facial expressions, tone of voice, and others. And when we want to humanize the interaction between the car and the driver, then also this becomes, of course, an important part and piece of the puzzle. So leveraging basically the technology and, AI to not only understand that emotion, but also leverage to support the driver going forward. That is exactly a nice thing we want to do here in the terms of the recognition.
Definitely. So maybe specifically, how do you work with Affectiva and how has the experience been?
Yeah, that has been great. I mean, we have started, I think, a few years back already. So CES 2019, we have jointly been there and provided a great start to really basically feel, for example, fatigue or also frustration to some degree, and then answer. That was, of course, a prototype only, but that is how it starts. There we already learned a lot about also how customers actually like that. And therefore, we have continued working with you and really appreciating doing so. And there are, of course, several things we are doing together here. We are working to integrate basically this Affectiva emotion recognition technology within our Cerence Drive platform. We are leveraging their data from the driver and guiding that. On the other hand, I mean, communication always consists of two hands. So there is two sides. There is the input, where we work with you to basically sense what is it, in which mood the passenger, the driver is. And there's, on the other hand, the output. And that is exactly what also needs, of course, to combine. So if you are frustrated in the car and acting with your assistant, it might be helpful that the assistant is then probably sensing that and also showing that, and therefore reacting differently than with the usual, "Oh, may I help you, please?" And so that is exactly the other thing we are then also working on is on the emotional TTS side, to really react and probably a bit more calm and trying to calm the passenger down. To work there and to get things there. So it's really a complex setup where all those things need to be fitting together. And that is what we do, and where we happily work with you and have a great experience. As I said, we had showcases at CES. We have some joint research projects where we're working on. And then there's also now this specific program with a specific customer. We're really looking forward. And from my point of view, I hope it's just the start and there's more to come. And clearly looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. So I know you mentioned CES 2019, which feels like many lifetimes ago. Can you explain what we did together and kind of take us through that experience? Because it was a really super interesting demo, I remember.
Yeah. So what we had there is we had a complete vehicle, which we put there on the booth. And we were putting from you the possibility, basically, with the video, the possibility to from the video point of view to sense what is it, what the passenger is having, the mood of the passenger, specifically, as said, fatigue detection, for example, as a starting point. And then also, of course, we looked also from the acoustic point of view. And that together we put into a complete assistant within the car. So you could sit in the vehicle, and then basically if you were yawning or speaking in a certain way, then the assistant was reacting and then also speaking like, maybe you need to take a break, for example, or there were possibilities to also state like, what about having a coffee or starting some more entertainment? We also had some games, name that tune, for example, and things like that to really raise the attention. And so that is really what we integrated there in a complete vehicle, and which was a real nice step to also show that. Because speaking, as I do here, about what it is always nice, but if you experience it and see what it is, what it all can do, and how it also interacts, and that also the display in the car shows something which fits there, and you hear it also, and all that's really what is the key point.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully, like you said, it's just the start. And, when we can come together again, maybe CES 2022, we could do something again together as well. So looking forward to that. So switching gears a little bit, you recently wrote an article on improving car conversations and road safety. And I believe it was to address technical acoustical challenges in a larger vehicle and how your ICC solution may be able to address something like that. So can you explain a little bit more on what that was about?
So this is the ICC in-car communication I was mentioning earlier. So the point is, if you have a larger car or even a van where you have a third row, and if you have people sitting in the final row and then you have the driver in the first row and you want to communicate, you could, of course, yell. It's not always fine and it may not even help always. But otherwise, it's, of course, if you're really looking forward, as you should be as a driver, and you want to communicate with people behind, it's really bad. And if you don't want to shout, you can turn the head, but that's, of course, extremely dangerous. So therefore, we want to enable a more pleasant conversation between the human beings and the vehicle. And that is exactly what ICC is doing. So it's basically an intercom system that enables the driver to speak to back passengers, and we can also do the other way around. And so we are leveraging the microphones, which we have for example, hands-free system or speech system. And on the other hand, we have the speakers in the car, which we're also using. And then it's really great also in terms of the latency, because the bad issue is if you do that in a way that you as a driver hear yourself talking to the people in the back half a second or a second later, that is, of course, nothing which makes sense. So therefore, what we have is really a system which is extremely quick with a very, very low latency. And so we clean up the complete signal and play it back over the speaker with basically instantaneous. And that is really great. And in the end, what that makes is really a huge impact in the enjoyment of the conversation also. And a nice example we have here, for example, is the Cadillac Escalade. And a specific thing we are really proud of is even next to the standard button on the steering wheel, the famous push-to-talk button or push-to-activate button, if you want to initiate a speech dialogue with a speech assistant, there's even a specific button for this ICC that's with an ear shape where you can easily even activate and deactivate that. And it's extremely nice. And the other way is also, if you are a driver which is more of the calm type and not loud speaking, it also eases your life because you do not need to shout and need to think. You can speak in your normal type. And even while going on high speed on the motorway, people in the third row can easily hear you. I mean, that's exactly what it is about, making this more human and ensuring that people can easily discuss with each other and stay in contact and communicate.
Excellent. Cadillac Escalade is certainly my dream car. So it's good to know that one of these days when this gets implemented, that'll be great for me to use. So if you have one takeaway for the audience listening today, what would you like to tell them?
I think the power of multimodality is really important. I mean, as said, speech is there for a while. I mean, we have several editions, but clearly emotion is one, gaze gesture, touch, handwriting, all of that together. And that's also what makes us human. And so enabling that also is the nice thing. And I mean, as said earlier, things are out there. We have since almost 40 years, you have speech assistants to some degree. And it's almost 30 even that you have things in the car. I mean, it all started with a complete hardware-based system in an S-Class back then, which I think 20 commands, 10 of those were even the numbers, which you can dial. I'm not sure if any person still nowadays use number dialing, but that was quite frequent back then. And we need to get to the next level or even a few more levels and become more emotional and more human and taking really the big picture, not that saying, yeah, I can talk to it and it answers. I mean, yes, fine, great, but that was also fine 20 years ago. Yeah. We really need to be more human, more interactive here and getting the whole thing more personal. And that is really a key thing we would like to make sure that people are aware. And as nice, honestly speaking, systems like MBUX, also the Escalade and the GM-R, which are out on the streets and everyone go out there and buy them nice cars and specifically very nice speech assistants. Mm-hmm. But there is more to come. And that's the nice thing. People also should look forward to see, hey, going forward, there are a lot of things which change in the automotive industry, but it makes sense to also look for what is going on infotainment and the assistant side.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely something to look forward to. So for our listeners, can you let them know where they can go to learn more, or do you have any other call to action for them?
Happily that they could basically go to Cerence. I mean, probably worth to spell as that is a somehow artificial name. CERENCE, Cerence.com. And there's a lot. The marketing team is active there to provide some information. As said, there was this blog post about the ICC I did earlier and a lot of other colleagues providing something. We're also active on LinkedIn.
So one last question we ask all of our guests. If your car could do one thing in the future to make your life a little easier, what would it be? And it doesn't have to be easier. You don't have to limit yourself. More fun, more interesting, engaging. What would it be?
I appreciate that because easier is I mean, that can, of course, be, and maybe that is the self-driving car. It will be there one day. But I think, honestly speaking, for myself, at least, it's always driving also, at least in most cases, is also an element of fun. So therefore, really having the fun element would be cool. And what I would really look forward, and I see we are going in very small steps there. So therefore, maybe one day we have it completely. There's so much music and media out there. I mean, if you have it yourself somehow in the media center of whatever mobile device you have, plus, of course, all those streaming services. And there's tons of that. But what is really the right thing when you are on the road? I mean, having something which really understands what is it, what is my mood? What is the time of the day? What has been my day like? Where am I driving? How am I driving? It might be even a difference if I'm on the German motorway driving 180 kilometers an hour, or if I'm somewhere in a traffic jam with 30 kilometers an hour. And having the right music selected for me, some automotive DJ, something like that I would really love. And it would be extremely helpful to really have music which fits the situation and without me as a person sitting there and what would it be? And then you're there, there's tons of music, but which one is the right one to pick? So really get it there and it fits. That would be cool. That would be really cool.
That is awesome. I love the automotive DJ. Let's make it happen. All right. Well, Stefan, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for making the time. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. I really appreciate the talks and have a nice day.
You too. Speaking to a device and getting an answer is thrilling, but we need to take the next steps as basic in-vehicle question and answer process is not as interesting anymore. But being able to create different reactions and experiences based on mood and personal state is super important and a big piece of what Stefan was trying to accomplish at Cerence. I also encourage you to check out the direct link in the episode description to Cerence in Motion for their latest product launch. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to Affectiva's Human-Centric AI podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts for new episodes. We are also on social media, so please reach out to us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Affectiva to share any feedback you have on the show and weigh in on the discussion using hashtag AffectivaAsks. Don't forget to rate us and comment with your feedback to help make the podcast more discoverable for others. Until next time.